Welcome old family and new family to BoomBappED, capital ED. This is your host with the most, Brandon White, aka Bushido Garvey, as I'm known in many MC circles. We got brother Rob Lowe on the tech. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a special treat this afternoon. We have the MC extraordinaire, good dude, brother Rahsaan P. What's going on, family?
What's going on, B?
Everything good, man?
Everything is good, man. Everything is good.
Good. You're one of those people that I cannot see for a while, but still when I see everything is as normal. You know what I'm saying?
We've been rocking for a long time, man.
This is a fact. This is a whole fact. For those who don't know, BoomBappED is an honest, open, and clear-headed exploration of education and cultural issues focused on, but not limited to, the Rochester area through a hip-hop lens. So, Rahsaan, if you quickly can, just run down your resume a little bit. Tell the people what you do, who you are, and what makes you tick.
I'm Rahsaan P. MC. I've been rapping, been making music probably about, I want to say maybe about 15 years now. I've got 3 albums out. Newest album is You Live and Learn. 2 previous albums was Less is More and One of These Days. Yeah, man, and I just try to get better with the craft every time I put something out. I try to add something to it. You know what I mean? Every time I put something new out, but just rapping about my experiences, about a lot of people that I've met. I try to do a little storytelling and everything, and just try to make stuff that everybody can relate to, or that people can relate to let them know, you know, you might be going through something, but you ain't alone. Somebody else going through it too, and somebody else can relate to you.
Indeed. So we always have an icebreaker question when we air. Peace to John, who's also Wilson alumni. What up, John DeCourier? Appreciate y'all listening. Here's your question.
Yeah.
Pretend like it's 1980.
Okay.
And you're forming a hip hop crew.
Uh-huh.
What would be the name of your crew? And if you were the MC, what would you call yourself? But you gotta pretend like it's 1980 though.
It's 1980.
Yep.
Oh man, 1980. I don't know, man.
Because rappers wasn't using their government at the time, so
right.
You gotta.
I would probably be I'll probably be MC Rock, MC Rah, MCP.
MCP,
something
like
like
Rock. Yeah.
Something like that.
Indeed, man. So let's talk a little bit about 2019 or 2018. Pardon me, I'm caught up in the future. 2018.
Yeah.
And your new EP, You Live and You Learn, and you just got done saying that whenever you produce a new project, you basically try to demonstrate new learning about how to make the craft or do the craft.
Yeah.
What are some things that you learned and you demonstrate that learning and You Live and You Learn on a craft level? What were some things that you kind of educated yourself on and changed for Live and Learn?
I think it was important for me to, I think with the first 2 projects, I was throwing it out there, trying to figure out what my sound was. I think with this one, I figured out what type of beats I sound good over, what tempos I sound good over, and just perfecting just the ear for like, okay, this is exactly how I want this to sound. So pretty much every song on there, it was, when you coming up with a song in your head, it sounded a certain way, and then you record it and it don't. Pretty much every song on there sounded exactly how I wanted it to sound. So I was just trying to perfect like the production side of it, like the actual like end product of making it sound like how I hear it in my head.
I did notice increased comfort and identity in while listening. You know what I'm saying? To your point, the beat selection. You know what I'm saying, and what you would decide to speak on over the beat, flow choices, etc. Can you talk a bit about your process as an MC? Because you said 15 years, right?
Yeah.
Now, inside scoop. What's up, brother Nate? Actually, we're about to talk about Wilson right now. Me and Rahsaan went to Wilson High School, best high school in Rochester, by the way.
Hands down, no competition.
And we got the East hater over here. He's an East product. It's all right though.
No comp, man.
Yeah. And at least by my recollection, you know, we had a lot of the same mutual friends. You didn't share that. Can you talk about your process, about when you decided to kind of be more open with your poetry or your rhyming, and just describe the process of learning and being educated about how to do your rhyming?
Okay, so I've been putting music out for 15 years. I've probably wrote my first rap when I was like 5 or 6 years old, but I didn't. I did a Christmas rap for a play in like elementary school.
Oh snap!
So it was like, and in middle school I would mess around with it, but I wasn't really as confident with it.
Do you remember the rap?
The Christmas rap?
Yeah.
No. Okay. I know it wasn't good though.
I mean, how old were you? You said what grade?
I was maybe 11.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Of course it's not
good.
Yeah.
You know, I got mixed like reviews like in the crowd. I remember like some people was like, "Hey," and then some people were just looking like, yeah. So yeah. I wasn't really that confident with it to put it out like that, and I also didn't really have access to studio time back then. It's
right.
different. Everything was different. If I don't want to like be long-winded on this question, but I just want to say there was a point in time where I was maybe about 15 or 16 years old, and I had a group with my brother and one of my best friends at the time, and we went to a studio to record some songs that we had written and sitting in my mom's basement. We went to the studio. We walked all the way over to the studio. It was probably about 2 miles away from where we lived at. We walked to the studio, and we got there, and the engineer didn't like
air quotes for those who are listening on the audio podcast. Yeah,
the engineer wouldn't record us. Wouldn't take our money. Wouldn't record us. My mom was so tired of hearing us like in the house that she gave us some money to go make a demo. Go get out of my house. So we went to the studio, and the dude would not record us. He wouldn't take our money. He was like, "Nah, this ain't hot. And when you get ready, then come back." And he thought his son was like really dope or whatever like that, I guess. But I mean, I don't know what his son doing now.
Yeah.
No, he ain't messing with me. But,
yeah. So it took years for it to become more public and open and ready to share.
Yeah.
Well, so this is happening throughout your schooling, right? You said you did a Christmas rap in elementary, right? So in elementary school, there was some sort of support for your creativity and your learning. Did this happen at Wilson in high school?
Somewhat, because I had a close circle of friends, and I don't know if you knew then at that time that I could rhyme.
I didn't. I personally didn't, but yeah.
But I had like a close circle of friends, and they knew like, yeah, he could rhyme.
Yeah.
But I just didn't have the confidence to go in front of everybody and do it yet. You know what I mean? Because I had backed away from it for so long. Okay. And I used to see people, battling outside of the school,
right.
After school and all of that. And I'm like, one day I'm gonna get in these battles, and I'm gonna body somebody in this.
Right.
But I didn't get into it yet. And I was so focused on. I had so many other things going on. It's like I couldn't focus. So. Yeah.
Speaking of other things, what type of student were you at Wilson?
As far as my grades?
Yeah, just socially, academically, yeah, all of that.
I think I was social. I think I was very social. I was like somebody who I talked to everybody, from like the freshmen coming into the seniors to I talked to the teachers, and like I was kind of like in every circle. Like I talked to everybody. I'm cool with everybody. My behavior wasn't the greatest, but
Yeah. Do you so me and Mars McGowan, who we also went to high school with. Shout outs to Mars, and again shout outs to what's good youth. I saw Nicole Larkin, Atiana Larkin was listening. We actually gonna be talking about your show in a second because I had a question regarding one of Rahsaan's songs and connecting with me and Miss Larkin's previous conversation here on BoomBappED. Okay. But I was talking with Mars on BoomBappED. Shout outs to Mars. And, he had a line in one of his projects that said something like, I was using the techniques learned in English class to write my own rhymes.
Absolutely.
Is that something that you experienced too at all, or?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The way I started rhyming, and I still do it to this day sometimes, I always start off, a lot of rhymes seem to be like storytelling.
Yeah.
And like a different format. A lot of times I do things in from a different person's perspective, and so everything is not necessarily about me. I do it from a different person's perspective, but I start off at the beginning. I start off with an introduction. I got to give you an introduction for that, and I always end off with a conclusion. So I always make sure I kind of structure it like an essay, like I'm writing an essay. I always do it that way because I want it to make sense, like as you listening. And I want you to be, if you miss something, go back to the beginning and like, yo, you can see how I set everything up. You know what I mean? So I like try to definitely do it like as I'm writing that, like an essay.
This is a full-on Wilson talk. I was actually talking with Trey at the Buddha Pub show.
Yeah.
And he's getting back into writing. And one of the things that,
shout out to Trey, he do some real good construction work. He just did he just did my bathroom.
Oh, he did tell me that. He did tell me that. Yeah. Homie warned me about my roof like 2 years ago. He was like, yo, you're gonna need a roof in 2 years. And sure enough, 2 years passed. I needed a roof. But yeah, so he's getting back into writing, and like it was so well paced, and you could tell it was like really intentional, and you could notice that with everybody who graduated from Wilson, where it's just like there's an appreciation of how to articulate yourself and how to create. You know what I'm saying? Even if it wasn't like a school of arts where it wasn't about arts, it gave us. It was a good school if you want to know how to critically think and express yourself still. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like, even if you weren't really realizing it at the time,
I think the best thing about going to a city school and going to that school, you were at the show. If you see the people who were in the crowd, it was so many familiar faces. Yeah. Everybody kind of stuck together, and everybody doing like real good. Yeah. But I think that we all kind of we're not competing with each other, but it's like we're all challenging each other, and we're all like supporting each other to want to keep doing better. You know what I mean? When I had to get some work done, I went to Trey. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yep. Like, yo, if I want something to eat, I go around the corner. I go to Zach's restaurant. Yeah. Yeah. Like, so.
Indeed. Yeah. Shout out to, actually, I need to have Zach on here too. I have a little East Side bias, so it's always a little hard to go over to the West Side. It's because I'm in Irondequoit right now, actually, so it's always a little hard to run over there. But shout outs to Zach. You have a song called "Life Owes On." I don't know if I can say that on air, so I'll minus the H.
I have to. I'm not gonna say that on air.
Okay. So that song is another storytelling song.
Yes.
Right. From a couple of different perspectives.
Yes.
Right. We had Etiana Larkin on here, and I know you've been on her show too, right?
Yeah.
Love and Situations.
Yeah, shout out to Etiana. Cheesy.
Hey, Miss Garlock.
Hey.
The Wilson way. Hey. What's up, Miss Garlock? Peace, Atlas. Miss Garlock was our administrator at Wilson. So question. We ended up talking about the education process of romance and relationships when she was on here. Can you talk a bit about how different that process is from everything else we get educated on?
We don't educate on it. I think that is a issue. We don't educate on it. We kind of learn things through either trial and error, or we learn things through what we see our friends going through. So like our peers kind of the ones who like teach us like, oh, this is acceptable, or that's not acceptable. You know what I mean? Like, this is forgivable, that's unforgivable. Like, yo, it's okay for you to do this. Like, it's not okay for you to do that. So we don't educate on healthy relationships. Yeah. A lot of us, our age and even younger, just black people, like a lot of us haven't seen healthy relationships.
That's a fact.
So we don't even know how to. We don't know how to do it. We don't know where to start. Who gonna teach us?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that is definitely a problem. I don't know where you get educated with that though.
Yeah,
you know,
facts. And again, me and I always call her Miss Larkin because like she worked at Douglas with me. Me and Miss Larkin, we're talking, and you know, the point was made that with love and romance, it leans too much on trial and error experience and not enough on study. But with like education, it leans too much on study and not enough trial and error and experience, right? So, you know, we were talking about how like, you know, we had to like seek people who are good models or read something about people's experiences. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but I don't think. I mean,
or listen to somebody talk about their trial and error, like, and that seems like a part of your educational process too when it comes to that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, all right, this is what happened, or this is what I've seen. I'm gonna speak on it, and I'm gonna speak on the lesson from it. Like, that's what I see a lot in your music in general.
Yeah. That's exactly where you live and learn. That's exactly where that came from. So it's like different things that I've seen over the last couple of years, and I just went off of that. It was different stories that I wanted to tell, and it was different experiences that I wanted to get out, and it's like therapy for me too. Like, you know, being able to get certain things out, and just being able to express yourself, that's big too. I think with relationships and romance, I think that, again, I think we just don't educate on that, man. But it's hard to say because it's hard to, like, you know, only read up on this and then have somebody else set the standard for what it's supposed to be. We're all individuals.
That's a fact.
We're all individuals. We all gonna deal with things and feel about things different ways, our own unique way. So we can't just read a book and say, okay, this is what we're supposed to be doing. That's not gonna work.
Facts. Facts. Absolutely. That. And again, that reminds me of everything that happens or should be happening in regular education. Like, it needs to be diversified in terms of your approach. Like, it needs to be balanced, but also needs to be specifically balanced for a specific person.
Absolutely.
For a specific person's learning needs, because everybody needs all of it, but how much of what they need of each of the parts of all of it varies, right?
Right.
So, can you talk a bit about your influences in general for your music, and describe what they specifically influence you with?
Yeah. My influences, they change as I get older. I start to recognize different things that you know, at first I just wanted to make just a hot song. So whatever hot beat was out, I'm rhyming over that, you know what I mean? And the older I got, the more I could go back and listen to certain things in music that I didn't hear before. I couldn't hear before because I wasn't ready to hear that.
Right.
So like, absolutely, like, you know, influence is gonna be Biggie, it's gonna be Jay-Z, it's gonna be, you know, Nas, it's gonna be Ghostface, it's gonna be like people like that. But like, the more I go back, I listen to some of the things they were saying, and I'm just like, man, that's crazy. Because like, yo, I see that now. Like, I see exactly what, you know what I mean, what that is. As far as like actual technique of, you know, I listen to Jay-Z, I listen to Lupe.
What were your thoughts about when 444 dropped? There was this major sensation that this man was making. Now he was making everyday man music that was reflecting on, you know, growing up, romance, etc.
But I felt like
there was a lot of people kind of already doing it. So how did you feel about that?
I felt like a lot of things he said, there's a lot of things he had been saying if you really listen. If you was really listening, like, he'd been saying that since 1996. Like, now he didn't go make a whole album out of it.
Right.
You got to go search for it because he's trying to make those hits. But as I got older and the music I started to make, I realized it started to be that grown man type. You know what I mean? Like, I listened to this album versus the first one or the first mixtapes that I did, and I'm like, yo, this is so much more mature. So I gotta expect him to be more mature at almost 50 years old and making that type of music. He got different situations now. He got kids now. He got a wife now. He got, you know what I mean? Like, he worried about paying taxes now versus being the biggest crime lord. You know what I mean? So it's like,
that's a fact. When do you? Because you made a good point that he's always kind of talked about those kind of things. Maybe not again a whole album, but you can go back to Reasonable Doubt and hear him say something crazy like too much black plus too much love equal forever. We're like stuff like, stuff like that can go all the way back then. What would you say, like, see if you can track it. Let's see if we can track it. Like, what was the turning point, do you think? Before, like, what was like the turning point before it got to 444 where he really, like, you know what? You could see him really starting to change direction a bit. And peace to Sister Naima for always supporting, appreciate it. Robin Banks, you were also listening at a point. We appreciate
Shout out to Robin Banks, man. Shout out to Robin Banks. I'm in there all the time buying stuff. The turning point, I would say, I want to say around American Gangster. I think that's around the time where it started to be more like, okay, these verses starting to mean a whole lot more. Yeah, like around that time, it's like, yo, he started to incorporate more of those other sensibilities he's probably had from the beginning. Right. But, he was a businessman. Right. Not a businessman. Whatever, right. I'm a businessman. Wait, what'd he say? What was it? I'm a businessman, not a businessman.
Get out of my business. And then I can't curse on air. Right. I think it might have been, I think that was the actual point where he was really starting to be a transition, but I think the moment where it clicked was a Moment of Clarity, a Black Album, because he kept it real right there. He was like, I dumbed down my music, double my dollars. They criticize me with the all yo holler. I want to be like Common Sense. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Lyrically, Talib, like, and that was a moment of, like, isn't that? I think that's a step in AA, right? Where you have a moment of clarity, and that's, you don't do the heavy work yet, but you're keeping it real with yourself, and then you start to do the work. So he started to do the work maybe around American Gangster, but had that moment where he was like, you know what, I got to start doing work. And Black Album. Peace to Josh Higgins. Appreciate you listening. What was something that you learned not to do from those cats that you mentioned?
Don't try to sound like them. Don't try to remake that. All of those guys that I listen to that influenced me, they all sound different. Yeah. Yep. You know what I mean? Like, they all sound different, and it was like, what is that thing that they have that separates them from each other? And then I was like, okay, what is the thing that I have that separates me from everybody else? I always felt like there was, like, when I was younger, there was a formula to making stuff. Now it's just like, if you listen to this album, there's some verses that's not even 16 bars. Right. It's some that's not structured at all. It's just like, this is just like exactly me. This is how I'm expressing myself in this. And that was my thing. Like, don't try to sound like nothing else that we got. Yeah. Take what you got and do what you got.
We're gonna play a little game real quick. It's called Simple Mathematics. This is boom bap, so we always have to have something education-wise. I'm going to give you a math equation that you have to solve for, right? I'm going to use hip-hop or education-related terms. So, for example, Migos minus trap, or trap minus Migos equals no new wave trap, right? So, I just solved it for myself, right? Well, I'm gonna ask you a couple questions. All right. Right? All right, put me on the spot. Yep.
Let's do it.
So, 1993 minus Wu-Tang equals what?
West Coast.
Can you elaborate on your answer? You know how you always had to prove? Can you elaborate on your answer, homie?
Dr. Dre, Snoop, that they was killing it at that time. That was their time. That whole, like, kind of post NWA era, that's what was going on. It was that sound that was like running the game at that point. You take Wu-Tang out, it's like there wasn't cats on the East that was doing anything. Right. I mean, so let's say it would be West Coast plus LL Cool J.
Yeah. So speaking of West Coast, Tupac minus Death Row equals what?
A different landscape for music in 2018.
Can you elaborate on that?
He'd still be here. He'd still be here. I think music would sound different. I think that thug life wouldn't have existed.
People always make the argument that music would sound so different if Pac and Big were still here. I feel like I've always only half understood why. You know what I'm saying? Like, could you educate me about why it would be different if they were still here?
Because they was running it at that time, and they were like the top of the top. They were running. Everybody knew it was one or the other. You know, that's who you was rocking with. You was rocking with one or the other. When they were both gone, it left the door open for somebody else to step in, for other people to step in.
Yeah.
And I guess, but you know what? Then the internet came along, and that changed everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's why I feel like, to a certain extent, I get it, but at the same time, like, the people who kind of stepped in were basically like the Jay-Z's, right? You know what I'm saying? Like the Outcasts, the Nas's. Like, these are the people who kind of, even though they were around while they were alive, but these are people who end up being at the top, and they kept the similar traditions and skill sets. You know what I'm saying? So,
right.
You know, let's say, and God forbid, like if Jay-Z had passed in 2003, I wonder if music would have.
Oh my God.
Would you think music would have changed?
Absolutely.
I think music might have changed more if Jay-Z had passed in 2003 than if when Big passed in '96 or 2000. How about that? Yeah, 2000.
If he passed in 2000 instead of. Yes, because there was a whole wave of New York rap that we wouldn't have got.
Yeah.
That whole Dipset movement would have never happened.
Non-existent.
That whole the whole Rockefeller movement. We're not getting Kanye. We're not getting Beanie Siegel.
Yeah.
We're not getting none of the state property. None of that whole Philly wave that came out of the rock.
Yeah.
We're not getting any of that. Had that happened in 2000. So you're right.
And then with the Kanye thing, I didn't even think about Kanye because Kanye was a whole other ushering in. You know what I'm saying? Like, there wouldn't be no John Legend. Wouldn't be Common. Common's career wouldn't have resurrected without, or wouldn't have gone to that level of commercial success. Who else? The Kid Cut, like that whole landscape changed. Changed the game. Yeah.
So I will say this: if he never came along, music would be completely different.
I agree.
I feel like him more so than Jay-Z. What he did, he changed everything.
Yeah.
Like, he changed it from being street to being able to, you know.
Yeah. No, that's a fact. So this is a favorite one of mine. DMX times 2 equals what?
DMX times 2.
Yep. If you had to, what would it be if DMX doubled his emotion, his power as an MC? How about this? No, I'm gonna switch up the equation. DMX minus addiction.
Biggest run ever.
Yeah, man.
Probably GOAT conversation.
Yeah.
GOAT.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that. GOAT.
Yeah. That man was like a superhero, yo.
Yep.
We were like 11, 12 when he first started.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody.
He was. You couldn't be no bigger.
Yeah. Yeah.
The man had movies.
Yep.
The man had the music. The man had everything.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Peace to DMX. You know. I know you actually in this album, I feel like you talk more about religion than you had in previous albums, right? Or just thinking about or philosophizing around the concept, right? Just saying, like, you know what, I'm not sure if I'm ready to do this, but I might, you know, you go over a little introspection with religion. Yeah. But I was gonna say, you know, we don't pray for MCs and rappers enough. You know what I'm saying? We need to be praying for that, man, or just be looking out for them however we can. So 30 minutes have already passed.
Yep.
You know, so thank you, Rahsaan, for being on the show. Can you please let people know, inform them, don't advertise, because we don't advertise.
Right.
But inform people what you got going on and what will be happening and what we can expect from Rahsaan P.
Well, you know,
how they can contact you.
I got a new album out, Rahsaan P. Like, you look me up, you're gonna find me. You're gonna find all of the music.
Yeah.
That's what I got going on for right now. I'm gonna do some more videos and do some more visuals, not just music videos, with some of the things that I got going on.
Indeed.
And
Mona Keisha was a great video. It's probably one of my favorite videos shot here.
I think that's probably my favorite song that I've ever written.
Honestly, it might be one of my favorite of yours too. I do like it. Can't take everybody with you though, a lot too. But yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, this is Rahsaan P. Thanks again, homie, for coming through to the show. You were just listening to BoomBappED, capital ED. Catch us every Tuesday from 1:30 to 2 on Wayo FM 104.3. Way out there, right here, or right here, way out there. What's it called? You can also catch the stream of this on Facebook. You can also catch it on Mixcloud. Peace and progress, y'all.
All right, y'all.